Persuasive Speech, and there's my audience. In the book Final Exit, a story is illustrated about a man who wanted to help his wife be content when she died. In 1990, this man flew his wife from California to Michigan so she could die in peace surrounded by her family. The day after she died, the husband got charged with first-degree murder. While this may not be exactly the same as physician-assisted suicide, the same concept comes into play. When is it right to help somebody die with dignity? Physician-assisted suicide is not a simple issue. The main struggle that comes into play is what the doctor signed up to do. Doctors take an oath before they begin their career. This oath states that the doctors must do everything in their power to make the patients better, as well as make them comfortable. These often contradict each other, especially in the case of terminally ill patients. Does one try their best to make their patient better knowing that their efforts may be ineffective, or do they make their patient comfortable and at ease by assisting in their death? I believe that physician-assisted suicide should be legal because a patient that is in extreme pain can find relief, medical expenses can be lessened, and if the right stipulations are in place, physician-assisted suicide can be a very successful way for people to find relief and dignity in their last moments of life. Those who suffer from terminal illnesses can find relief from physician-assisted suicide. A study conducted by Gallup Poll, Angel Fire, and Nightingale Alliance showed that 95% of terminally ill patients die in pain. Let that sink in. Over half of terminally ill patients die every hour, every minute, every second, die in agony. While doctors may try to do whatever they can to help prolong their patient's life, in M. Scott Peck's book, Denial of the Soul, a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation 10-year study of over 9,000 ill patients showed, quote, that a distressingly large number of studied patients endured unnecessarily prolonged and often painful deaths as a result of unjustified heroic measures. I do not believe that people should have to suffer through their last moments of life. If the doctors are making unsuccessful efforts in bettering the patient's diagnosis, the patient should be able to make the decision of whether they want to die by physician-assisted suicide. While oppositions may state that many people may not be in the right state of mind when making the decision of whether or not to end their life, other studies presented by Life News shows that in Oregon, a state that did legalize physician-assisted suicide, quote, only 2 of 77 people who died by assisted suicide in Oregon in 2012 were referred for a psychiatric evaluation. Most people that are in their final part of journey in life are sane enough to make the right decision of what they want to do. Making physician-assisted suicide legal would not only bring relief to the patient physically, it would bring relief financially. There is no hiding that being ill is extremely costly. The burden of bills on a patient who has little time to live weighs heavily. According to Jesse C. Vivian, JD's web document entitled The Price of Life, End of Life Cost, the range of costs for a person with 6 months or less to live varies from city to city, stating Manhattan, at a cost of $35,833 for the last 6 months of life, is the most expensive city, stating Wichita Falls, Texas, is the least expensive at $10,913. The average cost, however, is about $17,000. That is not an easy amount to come up with. If someone chooses to end their life via physician-assisted suicide, they will not have to pay the extra money for treatment that may not even work or may only extend their suffering. If the right stipulations and guidelines were in place when making this controversial topic, I believe that physician-assisted suicide could be a good way for patients to find serenity in their last moments of life. When most people are dealing with dying, they are not so much afraid of death itself, but the severity of pain that goes along with it. People should be allowed to die in dignity and with no pain. While oppositions may argue that legalizing physician-assisted suicide may open the floodgates for anybody to kill themselves, if the right guidelines were in place, physician-assisted suicide may be a way for people to die peacefully. According to the 9th edition textbook, The Last Dance, the Netherlands, a country that has legalized physician-assisted suicide, has guidelines that include, quote, the presence of a terminal diagnosis, the patient's voluntary and unwavering desire to die, suffering that the patient finds unbearable, a second medical opinion, and documentation and reporting of the death. In the book Unplugged, the author, William Colby, talks about the time during which physician-assisted suicide was trying to become legal in Oregon, stating, Proponents of the Oregon law argue that physician-assisted suicide actually happens 4 times as often in the other 49 states where it is illegal, but it occurs quietly and privately between patients and doctors. Physician-assisted suicide still happens, and happens even more when it is illegal. Making it legal will allow patients to die peacefully and for the doctors to fulfill their duties without fear that they will be arrested. With strict specifications of who and how a person can die by a doctor, physician-assisted suicide can become something positive, providing healing for those in pain. We all do not know what it is like to go through the decision to end your life, unless you are experiencing it for yourself. While physician-assisted suicide has caused much controversy over the years, it is something that should be explored more in depth. I believe that physician-assisted suicide should be legal because a patient that is in extreme pain can find relief, medical expenses can be lessened, and if the right stipulations are in place, physician-assisted suicide can be a very successful way for people to find relief and dignity in their last moments of life. Abraham Lincoln once said, "It is not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years." And this is my graph, and it shows the percentage of people who agree with physician-assisted suicide for terminally ill patients. And while it is split down the middle, it's almost split down the middle, people favor legalizing physician-assisted suicide more. And there's my audience again.